Okay, working our way back through. Oh, finally, SpyHide couldn't hide forever. This is a rather technical deep dive into how I hacked SpyHide. Sometimes referred to by the shortening CRT, their .com domain, and by a bit of my own analysis. For a less technical, more journalistic approach to breach, you can read this exclusive piece on TechCrunch. When I started work on the series, I did what I always do first, scanning for super low-hanging fruit vulns without expecting much. So as I was running a scan over the target list for Git exposure, which happens when a website is deploying via Git, but the web server isn't configured not to serve contents of the Git directory. Among various false positives, there was an actual hit. So I did have this thing going on for a little bit, and I got an email from a kind bot that automatically scanned for this, said, hey, you need to configure this in Nginx. Here's where to go that'll tell you how to do it. And it's actually pretty cool. I don't deploy via Git anymore. I use rsync for that, but yeah, there is that. Pretty cool. Anyway, using Goop, an offensive Git dumping tool I originally developed in 2020, I managed to download the full source code and Git history for the account panel of SpyHide. So I began digging into the repo, first with a focus mostly on figuring out some background info on SpyHide. Start with some Git metadata, looking at git config. File reveals that the code is hosted in a private repo on that GitHub versus Playtech GitHub account. The account name says RST and the by... Wait, what? Blah, blah, blah. Where is it? RST. Okay, that is. BioRead, CEO of Decima Tech, which along with we should keep in mind because they also appear in the Git commit authors. So the SpyHide site appears to be hosted on a server called server.versus.net, and we have the main dev behind their PHP infrastructure. It is a fairly easily Googleable, and turns out his email address has been used to register various domain names based on further clues in the source code OSINT, as well as having owned his ERP system they used for a bit in 2021. And story for another day. It could also be concluded that Muhammad also goes by Mahdi Mehdi in the username. In various places, I reached out to Muhammad for comment via email as well as Telegram, where he blocked me at the time of publishing. I have not received any real response. Update below. Okay, for statement received after publishing. So the people involved, as well as source code and references to a former Iranian front for SpyHide, is how it at least became clear that SpyHide is software for an Iranian company called Versus, and that's all I managed to gather about the backgrounds of this company from surface research based on a repository. So it's time to move on to real fun stuff, diving into the source code. So we've got an Iranian company that has left their stuff wide open. So Git repo deployment wasn't properly configured in whatever they happen to be using for Apache or Nginx are the two most likely. Apache is very, very most likely, being as they left it wide open. So yeah, I'm assuming it is Apache, and they're, again, the same bot that emailed me has a configuration for Apache as well. And you can pretty well figure out what people are using for deployment of websites and things like that. Or what is it? They're reverse proxies? Whatever. Yeah. Pretty easily. Okay, finding something to exploit. Got going by scouring through the source code pretty much at random, solely trying to build an image of how their so incredibly shoddy backend works. Lots of PHP was unused, were backup copies of now changed scripts. Seemed rather necessary given the use of Git, but I digress, or had new versions. Here's a mostly unfiltered look into my research notes at the stage. Auth cookies are in the format of user ID, password. Why? User IDs are sequential. Yes, the passwords are represented in the DB with the DB salt, and all is in the cookie. DB type is either A or B, where B appears to stand for backup, both accounts. I made on prod or on type DB type B, and I look at the code reveals specific code doesn't support a type A anyways, at least not right now. Auth via level 2 phone app. An app key is required, which is described by the code in comments as follows. Mention private key, which is actually a static salt, appears to be as roam and blah, 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 which is, of course, incredibly creative. And suddenly it was starting to get more interesting. I was looking into how data uploads from victim devices works, and I found out that the upload photo action accepts any kind of files with arbitrary file names, extensions, and content. Same thing also goes for the upload record ambient and upload record call actions, where the devs seemingly even realize the potential risk of this. So they check for 3GP name, file name, and so on. There's a check to allow MP3 and 3GP files respectively, which clearly references potential hacks. However, the check isn't actually used for anything besides the now commented out log message, so even there it would still be possible to upload whatever I want, because you can change the extension on it. And yeah, only problem I still had with all these endpoints is that I needed a victim device registered to my account, or just know any active device ID to make use of them. Since I had only just moved flats and not yet unpacked everything, I didn't have a throwaway test device at hand to throw Stalkerware at. Guess I had to also figure out how to do the API calls to register a device myself. Once I managed to understand the confusing logic of different account types, it turned out to be actually pretty simple. So now I had a device with a definitely very numeric ID. All that remained to do now is take over their server to upload a base64 encoded PHP web shell using the upload photo endpoint. And as a little extra flex and to make it slightly more convenient to access, I also did a directory traversal placing the web shell at funky PHP, and bam. So we've got various screenshots in Firefox. It looks like, yeah, Firefox screenshots, VS Code, blah, blah, blah. From now on, it was once again all comically easy. I used the web shell's built-in Explorer to compress all the web routes of the various sites hosted on the server, downloaded them over HTTP. Thankfully, their server was quite good bandwidth, so this was all done within like an hour. At the same time, I found an already existing installation of the AdMiner database management tool in one of the web routes, which allowed me to trivially dump all of their databases. Well, now I'm sitting on 230 gigabytes of Stalkerware data to go through source code, databases, photos, call, and ambient audio recordings from the victims' phones. So what's this AdMiner? Database management in a single PHP file. That is just horrible. PHP MyAdmin with AdMiner, and you'll get a tidier user interface, better support for MySQL features, higher performance, and more security. Very nice, especially when it doesn't, do the thing. As always, I did my quick surface analysis to have a better idea of how to pitch a story to journalists who will then be way more qualified in the actual analysis of the data. SpyHide had almost 800,000 user accounts, email addresses are not verified, so also keep that in mind for upcoming analysis. With data ranging from late 2016 to now, there are around 60,000 devices which have been compromised during those years. For once, it should be somewhat possible to identify lots of victims, as there is IMEI info for all devices and phone numbers for lots of them. Some users have multiple devices connected to their account, with some having as much as 30 devices they've been watching over a course of multiple years. Imagine all the girls they're spying on everyone in their lives. There's some sad irony to naming the device of someone you're stalking for literally years across multiple phones with Name the Crazy. Like, I don't know, who's the fucked up one here? I mean, yes and yes. Both are crazy. Once again, obviously, also search the email addresses and email domain list. Once again, public, but since there's no email verification, lots of typoed domains. Let's see. For interesting email addresses, which in my book, as always, mostly means government email addresses, there are at least 190 users who have signed up with various government email addresses, at least 16 of which are U.S. government addresses. There's even some .mil ones in there, many of which were correctional officers. Massive amount of users from Brazilian, Philippine departments of education, as well as 5 users from the Colombian National Police, indicating they are at the very least, seem to have evaluated commercial spyware at one point. SpyHide also appeared to keep data around for way longer than they even tell the operators. Photos, audio recordings, they claim that all data will be deleted after 3 months. However, I found photos as well as recordings from all the way back in mid-2022. This appears to only actually be deleted from the storage when devices expire, as in the operator stops paying for the subscription, or they have been disconnected for a specific amount of time. need all that good blackmail data. Let's see. Here's the teaser for Spy Hide, which they put on their website. It's incredibly hilarious to me, so I had to share it. Let's see. How long is this, buddy? Don't think I've ever seen a product ad that was as over the top and as 2013 Minecraft core as this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if that's like Minecraft core, but like definitely, yeah, it's up there. It is right there. Let's see, developments since I started writing. On the evening of the Sunday, the 23rd, I noticed that I could no longer sign into my testing account at SpyHide. It appears that Versus has responded to my request for comment by closing up at least some of the holes. Sign-ups were disabled, except I think through the app. Some database passwords were changed, my web shell removed, and my account deleted. A quick check with Goop shows that .git is still exposed, and nothing else, including the arbitrary file upload, has been fixed. The data from this leak will be available soon in limited distribution to other journalists and researchers via DDoS secrets. This article will be updated to reflect that. In the case, as always, feel free to contact. Around 3 hours after publishing, I received an email response from Mohammed claiming he was only briefly involved in this project as a contractor around 8 years ago. He further claims not to know who runs SpyHide or any of the people involved. His explanation for even recent commits having his name and email address attached to is that he used to make commits from on the server, meaning that as a new developer picked up the work, they just kept being made in his name. Given what I know about how development appears to happen, this seems believable enough. His full username, last name, and email address have been removed from the blog post. So basically, it's a bad, what is it? Bad cleanup, pretty much. You didn't, oh my goodness. The account etiquette of these people is just out the wazoo. I've seen way too much of it. Like, you get one user that logs into, like, their corporate account, per se, and then 5 other people save their login details in the browser in that person's account. And it's ridiculous, just the way that works. And now you see it here, like, there's so much garbage collection that could be done. That account should have been gone, like, 8 years ago. And so the fact that it's still there and people would be still using it is ridiculous. Anyway, I think that one was a little bit longer, so the next one will be part 3, so yeah. If you liked the content, if you enjoyed it, if you think I deserve it, like, comment, subscribe, leave any criticisms you have or what have you. I appreciate it. Feed that algorithm, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next one.